want to welcome you all today, especially the parents on this very special day. Today, and for this event, you should be celebrated, your parents, for having supported your children and gotten them to this place in their path to education as they start their college careers or they come in as transfers here to USC. As a parent myself, I know that the day is full of mixed emotions for many of you. You're excited about the challenges and the opportunities that await your children, but also you'll miss their presence in your daily lives at home. And as an educator here at the University of Southern California, I take seriously the fact that you are entrusting their academic future in the hands of faculty and staff members here at our institution. And I promise you that I will do everything in my power to make this institution as welcoming and supportive to your children as it should be to you as parents. On this day, I will always remember, every move-in day, I always remember the moment 38 years ago when my parents drove me to Los Angeles International Airport to get on my very first airplane and go off to college. I was leaving my family to go off to a school on the East Coast, 3,000 miles away. I was excited and nervous, anxious to find out what was ahead of me, both in terms of my classes and professors, but also in terms of my roommates and college life in general. Once I got over the trauma of my first airplane ride and my first taxi cab ride, I could concentrate on what lay ahead for me. I was the first in my family to go to college. But as a 17-year-old, I didn't think too much about what my mother and father were going through. Neither had attended college. Indeed, neither had finished high school. As immigrants from Mexico with a sixth grade education, they did their best to prepare me for the unknown. On the way to the airport, they took me to the local priest and had him bless me on my journey. They packed a sandwich for me, not knowing if those on the plane would feed me. And they actually did feed you those in those years. And they told me to call if anything went wrong, never having been to Boston themselves. Today here at USC, we would like to help you think through ways you might help your children be successful on our campus. First, we want to feed you before you have to deal with the Los Angeles traffic at rush hour. This is part of the encouragement. But then we're going to have a panel made up of a faculty member, a staff member, a student, and a parent to offer their advice to you on this subject. But most importantly, we want you to feel part of the Trojan family at USC. Just as your children are invited to join this new familia, or Jiao Ting, if you speak Mandarin, Jiao Doc, if it's Vietnamese. I personally, as Vice Dean for Diversity at USC Dornsife College of Letters, Arts, and Science, want to welcome you to the Trojan family, all of you, all parents, all siblings, and all students, and invite you to return to be engaged with your children's education while here. So if you allow me, I'd like to offer you some things to think about as you leave your child today in their new dorm room, their new apartment, their new home for 4 years. First, I want to encourage you to remain part of your child's life as they start on this journey. All academic studies and education point to the fact that especially for students who are the first in their family to attend college, continued talking and involvement with their families is critical to their academic and personal success. You do not need to know the specifics of chemistry or history to help them. What they need to know is that you will support them no matter what. My mom used to tell me to put down my books every once in a while or my head would explode. I took that to mean that I needed to learn how to relax and not work all the time. That was very important for me. It helped me balance my life in college. Second, as a vice dean and as a parent, I want to encourage you to be patient with your children about their communication with you. Many will not know how often they should call you or how often they should come home, trying to balance their new time commitments with their obligations to you and their siblings at home. Encourage them to stay in contact, but be patient as they work out exactly what that means. I never got as many phone calls as I wanted from my son when he was in college. But I also knew that he loved me, and he himself was often feeling overwhelmed. But if it got too long a time, I called. Many of the students I work with, both women and men, agonize over leaving the security of home. And the time they have to spend at school to study, to be involved with student organizations and friends, they're balancing that with still maintaining contact with you. At times it will seem, certainly did to me, it will seem as if you only hear from them when they need to do their laundry or when they need a few dollars. Know that they will have to work on a new relationship with you, no matter what, that is based on their newfound independence and time commitments. But please be patient with them. Third, be ready for them to change. All of our children change as they grow up and become adults, but the pressure of college life seems to make this change more rapid and dramatic. Because they've been accepted to USC, they invariably have gotten mostly A's in school so far. Most of your children will experience the shock of their first non-perfect grades and will have to adjust to the heightened competition of the university. They will need your support as they make this adjustment. Now, on average, most USC students change their major 3.5 times in college. 3.5 times. So, expect your son or daughter to encounter courses and subjects that are totally new to them. Some of these new subjects will lead to anxiety, while others will lead to new connections that might change what they want to study and eventually what their career will be. This is absolutely normal, but they largely don't know that it is right now. Every freshman I talk to says, I'm majoring in X, and they're absolutely certain that's what they're going to graduate in. It usually doesn't happen that way. Of course, they will also change in personal ways, finding out things about their own identity that they currently do not know. Some of this will be because they interact with other students or professors that lead them to new questions about the world around them and where they fit in. Some may study abroad in new lands that you will need to search a map to find in the world. And almost all will want to enter professional careers that are new to them and to you as families. The acknowledgement of change brings me to the fourth piece of advice, and this one is not easy. It wasn't easy for me as a parent, and I don't think it's easy for most. Welcome them home, not despite, but because of the changes in them. You have wanted them to go to college to learn and to achieve. So invite the change back into your families and your home. Make them secure in your support for them no matter what change occurs. Most of them will need this security to truly become the pioneers they want to become in their lives and for your families. I want the students I teach at USC not only to excel in school and in their lives, but to become leaders in their respective fields, changing the world for the better and improving the lives of those around them. But to do this, most of us need support of both college mentors and family members. We are now partners with you to try to encourage them to reach their goals, even while they are still trying to figure out the direction of their lives. We're now partners in that. I want to encourage you to stay in conversation with USC as your child grows and changes. All of you, by virtue of coming to this dinner tonight, will be invited back to Parents Weekend in October at no cost to you. We will have sessions at this event once again for parents and families where your child is the first to go to college so we can continue this conversation. The challenges that your child will have at USC will be helped by our partnership, and we need to continue that conversation into the future. Again, I want to formally welcome you to the Trojan family and to the journey that your child is on here at the University of Southern California. You are to be congratulated for your role in supporting your child's accomplishments, and I invite you to continue in that effort now with us at USC as a partner.
On behalf of the USC Dornsife College of Letters, Arts and Sciences, the Office for Diversity and Strategic Initiatives, the First Generation Task Force, and the Norman Topping Community Service Club, welcome to the First in the Family panel discussion. My name is Octavio Avila. I serve as Director of USC Dornsife Student Special Services. I am first generation, a proud parent of 2 young children, and a 17-year member of the Trojan family. I'm delighted to join you this evening as panel moderator. The theme for tonight is bridging communication between home and the university. While communication is important for all students and families, it holds special significance for first-generation students and families. Being the first generation in your family to attend college means that this experience is new. Students, you may have read about the experience, may have heard about it, you may have even talked about it or even seen a movie about it. Pitch Perfect, anyone? All right. But the experience is new. The college-going experience is not exclusive to first-generation students and families, but it does have a unique set of implications. And that's why we are here today, to communicate issues and challenges unique to first-generation students and families. So it's my pleasure that we are joined this evening by 4 distinguished panelists who will lend their voice, their insight, and experience for tonight's discussion. First, to my left, your right, I'd like to welcome Dr. Lanita Jacobs, Associate Professor of Anthropology and American Studies and Ethnicity. Okay. To her left, a student who I met as a freshman 3 years ago, Maria Jose Lopez, who is now a senior majoring in American Studies and Ethnicity and a Norman Topping Scholar. Next, we have Gricelda Bonilla, a proud parent of 2 USC Dornsife alumni. Actually, no, excuse me, 2 USC alumni. She's an NAI parent and currently works as an NAI office assistant. And Mary Ho, who serves as Assistant Dean of Diversity and Strategic Initiatives. So my first question I'd like to direct to both Maria Jose and Gricelda. Maria, can you tell us a little bit about your first generation background and maybe let the audience know what major transition you dealt with as a first generation student beginning college?
I came from Chula Vista, Tijuana. I grew up in a single mother household. My mom worked more than 12 hours a day, usually at a restaurant. So I only saw her in the morning when she took me to school or Sundays, because that was her day off. But USC has been my dream school since I was 12 years old, so I worked really hard in high school and I made it here. But I didn't know what being a first gen meant. I didn't know what being first generation meant until I walk into orientation and I'm one of the only students without their parents. I don't know if you identify with that, some of you, the students in the room. I didn't know that parents were supposed to come to that. I knew it said that there, but from what I remembered in high school when it was optional for your parent to come, they didn't usually go, right? Because they worked or because it was very informal or whatever. But so that was my first initial shock of, oh my God, I'm by myself. Parents are fighting for their students to get their housing right, their parking right, whatever it was. But I'm fending for myself, and quickly I grabbed onto other students that were alone. But once I got here, my first few months, I felt like all the students in my classes knew that I wasn't supposed to be here because something was different about me, or maybe I didn't come from the kinds of schools that they came from, or I didn't have the experiences that they had already had. Like some people had already had internships. I didn't know what an internship was, right? But I think it's important to realize that you're here for a reason. And that's the hardest thing to really wrap your head around. And you need mentors to help you nail that in your brain. Because once you realize that you're here for a reason, then you're going to be a very important part of USC and changing the USC atmosphere.
My name is Gricelda Bonilla, and I'm originally from Guatemala. I was born and raised in Guatemala. The challenge that I experienced with my daughters was that they left home. It's not the same thing for them living at home, seeing them at night, kissing them good night, and then they come and live in campus. Even though I live in the neighborhood and like 2 blocks away, it wasn't the same thing. It was just hard not to have them at home. And like she mentioned about orientation as a parent, being in the NAI program, I knew that I could come to orientation, but when I got the letters from invitation letters, it said that I had to pay, and I go like, okay, I don't have this kind of money to pay and go to orientation, so my daughters had to come to orientation by themselves. And the only thing that I could do for them is just be the most supportive that I could be, just to make sure that they knew that they had my support. For example, if they needed something at night or whatever they needed here at the university, they just called me, and I was able to help them as much as I could as a parent. So that's the support that I basically gave them here in the university.
This next question is from Mary Ho and Dr. Jacobs. Can you share with us a little bit about your experience as a first-generation student when you attended college? So may we start with Mary?
I'm a first-gen college student. I went to UC Irvine as an undergrad and also a first-gen grad student. I went to NYU, and now I'm a doctorate student here at USC. And my experience was basically trying to understand how to navigate the university during my time at UC Irvine and trying to understand my resources. I didn't know, and I actually did not change my major even though I didn't like it, because I thought by changing my major it will basically delay me. So my experience was very much learning as I go and relying a lot on my peers who aren't first gen to provide me with information. My parents, they were there to support me, but also at the same time I had a lot of family obligation as well. So I went home pretty much every weekend just to make sure I was, my parents don't speak English, so I helped them translate a lot of documents, making sure that they were taken care of. Even though they never told me to do that, I felt an obligation to do that, being a first-gen college student and being that my parents are immigrants. I wanted to make sure that they were supported as well. So it was a lot of challenge trying to navigate home life, plus my time at UC Irvine. I succeeded, but it was without some challenges. It really was to learn about the resources that I didn't learn early on.
I can identify with both Mary and MJ. I am out of Oakland, California, and I went to a school called Fremont High School on Foothill Boulevard. I don't know if there are any Bay Area people here, but there was a school there called the Media Academy, and at the time I was interested in journalism. So a group of these students, my high school had a 50% dropout rate, but those who were part of that Media Academy, a lot of us went on to college. I had 6 sisters, 2 brothers, and I was one of the first to go to college. I went to UCLA, and I went to UCLA as an undergrad and also as a graduate student. When I went there, I had no idea I'm looking at some of you, and I know that some of you did Upward Bound. I know some of you did MACE. I know some of you did whatever programs were available to get you on a college campus, and I had done those programs, and I was like one of the top graduates of my school. But when I got to UCLA, it was a whole nother ball game. So what it meant to be smart in my school was very different from what it meant to be smart here, and I felt it palpably in classes when people were joking and having fun, or even on the weekends when people would be going skiing, and I would be like in the library studying, just trying to catch up to what I thought my peers were. It felt very much to be a struggle. It felt unfamiliar. But one of the greatest struggles I had was feeling that while I was at UCLA, growing, doing this thing that was supposedly to make my family proud, myself proud, I was feeling distance growing between us. And I doubt that any of us will ever forget where we came from, but I feel Dr. Sanchez, also a mentor of mine, when he says that you change, and you change in ways that you need to change, right? But it hurts sometimes to think that I was learning things that the folks who went to school with, that I was leaving them behind, or I was understanding, there was a Anita Hill, Clarence Thomas crisis, and it was about gender and racial discrimination involving black people. And at the time, it was like, save the black man, and all of a sudden, my classes was getting me to think about gender and the place of the black woman. That just blew my mind, and meant that some of the conversations I was having at home were very different because of that shift in my mentality. So those were some of the challenges. I will say, like Mary, I survived, right? We survived, and I'm happy to talk a little bit later about some of the reasons why that happened.
On the subject, Dr. Jacobs, of feeling a distance growing between the family, I want to address this question to Gricelda. With the experience with your daughters, did you experience a distance between your daughters, or what were some of the changes you experienced with your daughters as they went through the 4 years at USC? What were they, and how did you deal with them?
I can say that I have been very blessed to have a really good relationship with them. When they didn't, like Dr. Sanchez said, when they didn't call, when I felt that I needed to talk to them, that I just go ahead and call them, or I just go ahead and came here to the dorm and being look at them to make sure that they were okay. And yeah, so I think I have been very blessed to have a very good relationship with them.
Great, thank you. This next question is from Maria. Many first-generation college students juggle several responsibilities. You know, you're attending class, maybe you're working part-time, you have internships, research, any number of activities that you're involved in. How did you manage your workload, your academic life, your personal life as a first-generation student when you first got to USC?
You learn, you're not going to get it right away, right? So I'm on the dance team, and I've been on the dance team since my freshman year, and that freaked out my parents because that's extra stuff on top of already being new to college, new to taking classes. I also got a job about a month into school because I had to. But I think I'm a topping scholar, so I'm lucky enough to be put into a community right away when I get here of other students who come from similar backgrounds. So I was lucky enough to meet older students who really taught me the ropes of where I can go to ask questions. Most importantly, realizing that it's okay to ask questions. I would see these students really be open about what they needed help with, or what their weaknesses were, and I decided and learned that I could do that as well. So I learned a lot of study tips from Pinterest and the Court Check Center. Students, that's a resource that's amazing. But also just being very honest with people like my dance coach, who has seen so many girls go through the team for the 20 years she's been here. So she was a great mentor in the beginning, making me feel like, okay, you're not gonna fall apart, you're gonna do it. And then also relying on other students, because I lived in a freshman dorm, so everyone was going through the same thing. Even if they weren't first-gen students, college is new, kind of new. The workload and the time management is new to most students. So it was really empowering to be struggling with other students in your dorm and figuring things out. But it took me about a whole semester to really understand it. I still did well my first semester, but not as great as I did in high school. But I think you really need to be real with yourself and sacrifice. You're not going to be able to go out every day. Parents, close your ears. You're not going to be able to join 50 clubs, right? Find something you really love and stick to those things. It's not about quantity, it's about quality.
I want to pose this question to all of you on the panel. Maria, you talked about this extra stuff you were involved in. Why should you be involved in extra stuff? Aren't you here in college to go to school, go to classes? What's the importance of it, this extra stuff?
I started with the dance team and I started with my scholarship, and those were my first two communities at USC, and the Latino floor, which was very important to me. But I think in the beginning I felt like I could only be a student, and you probably don't feel that yet, but once you get into your classes, you may feel like you shouldn't get more out of USC than that grade in the class. But being involved makes you realize that you can do anything you want, right? So for example, I came into the dance team, and now I'm captain of the dance team, right? Something I never thought I would do. Like, no, I'm the first Latina on a dance team that's been here for 20 years, and now I'm the captain, right? So being a part of things that you enjoy and really putting in your heart makes you feel like you're a part of campus, and in the long run, you're going to make a difference for campus. And it's going to make you do better in school because you're constantly going to be happy and fulfilled. And hey, when I have a really rough day in class, I know that I have practice to look forward to, or now I have a job that I really enjoy. So in the beginning, I worked in housing in an office, which was cool. But now I'm a research assistant for Dr. Sanchez, and I get paid to read things that I enjoy, interview people that I enjoy, travel. So find things that you love and really try to be a part of that because the campus needs you to be a part of that.
Great. Thank you. Well said. Others?
As I mentioned, I was a political science major, thought I was going to go to law school, did not like it. But what I found an interest in was basically my activities in higher education. I was involved as an orientation staff. I was part of a cultural center. I was involved in student government. And I met a lot of staff and faculty mentors during my time. And because of that, I was hired straight out of UC Irvine to be in a position in the Dean of Students office. And from there, I decided to get my master's in higher education. And now a doctorate student at USC in higher education. And it totally changed the path of my life. And that's the reason why I'm here today is because of my college experience, and a lot of it came down to co-curricular involvement and also getting a chance to do research as well, which was very helpful. And my background is diversity, affairs and education, and I had a chance to do research on Monterey Park during that time, the Asian American community in Monterey Park, Asian American community. So all these kind of shaped who I am in terms of my professional goals today, and also it helped me grow a lot personally as well.
My daughters were involved in the marching band, and I guess I had so much fun also being a band parent member because I had the chance to go to the games for free, so that was really cool. And then I was making sure that they, along to study, they were having fun too, because it is really important for the students not to be stressed. The classes are hard. My daughters, the oldest one graduated as a mechanical engineer, the youngest one as an astronautical engineer. So I said they need to have some fun, and that being in the band, yeah, they had that. So, yeah.
I want to second that. When I was an undergrad and in high school or whatever, I didn't know how to have fun. In fact, I'm a PK, I'm a preacher's kid, and they used to call me missionary in high school. And on the weekends, I actually brought a Bible to school, and on the weekends I would hang out with my church friends. I didn't hang out a lot of times with people on campus. And now I'm catching up with all kinds of that. I'm involved in all kinds of sinful activities and things like that. Kind of, sort of, but I was involved in some extracurricular activities at UCLA, actually, the other school. I did some radio stuff at the time. I wanted to be a newscaster. I did some internships at the local, KCAL and Disney and what have you. But when I took a class with another anthropologist, and she told me that you can spend a year just observing what it is that people do as an anthropologist, it rocked my world, and I'm like, I'm down with that, and that began my extracurricular activities in research. And I worked with several faculty members, and like Mary, I realized that, research showed me what it is that I want to do. Journalism was not going to be it. It was actually going to be becoming an anthropologist. And I would not have done that if I had not done that extracurricular kinds of stuff. So do make sure that you do that, and please do make sure that you have fun at this place. It's just too hard without it.
Question is, as a parent, how can I best help my daughter as she comes to USC?
The best advice that I can give is just to make sure that they feel your support. Even if it's just coming and help her in whatever she needs, feeling the support of the parents, it's a lot. I believe it's a lot of help. Because, for example, when my daughters were too busy. Let's say she couldn't do the laundry. There comes mom and do the laundry for them. Simple things like that. I wasn't really much involved in academically, like with the professors or, because I was afraid. I mean, I was afraid to come to university, even though they were always inviting me to come and the parent weekend come and meet my professors. But I said, well, what if I'm not going to understand what they are saying in your class? So things like that. Even though I knew I could come, I was not able to do it. But just feeling the support, I guess that helps them a lot.
First semester at UCLA, I was supposed to take 3 courses. I decided to take 4 for whatever reason. And my grades got sent back home and sealed. You know, sometimes you could send a postcard, you just see it. No, mine was sealed. I got home for Christmas, or whatever it was, break, and my parents met me at the door with the opened mail. First of all, that was my mail, right? So they opened it, and what they said was, Lanita, we love you, but we really expect you to do better than this, right? And my reaction was, what? You know, and also that they didn't understand that it was just a struggle to simply make it to class, let alone. So I did not perform as well. I remember MJ, it may take you some time to find your stride. It took me about 2 years to find my stride, but I found it. But the thing that I think parents can do is to be you, right? It's to show support for their kids, to let them find their groove, I know that we have high standards for all these brilliant students who are here, but to let them fail, let them figure it out, let them party, let them figure out what it's like to have a hang. I know you don't want to hear that, but you know, let them live and know that what it is that they have inside of them, it's going to come out. It's going to straighten, it's going to, you know, trust them. Trust them and support them. And like Dr. Sanchez said, please, just be patient. Be patient with them.
When they are of legal age, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
How did you deal being overwhelmed, dealing with your studies, your classes, and just everything in college?
Go to office hours. Like, that's why I am sitting here now. If I would have never gone to go see the professor of color that I had my first semester, then I would have never started doing the little things that got me to where I am today, because I would have never been confident and I would have never figured things out, right? So I think it's asking for help. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask your professor. There is no stupid questions. It's okay to rely on other students as a support group. You're not in competition with each other. I mean, maybe in some classes you are, but don't think about it that way. Like, help each other out. And for me, it was, like I said, reaching out to older students and having fun. My practices where I was working out, so I was staying healthy. It helped me de-stress. And I was doing something really, really fun. Like, I totally love what I do. So if you have, like, there's intramural sports teams for people. There's a gym that has classes. You can take a fun art class. Like, I think my freshman year I took a singing class. It wasn't great because I'm a terrible singer, but it was fun, right? So I think, you know, take a break from what you're doing, and don't freak yourself out. Like, there's other students going through what you're going through. You just have to talk to each other, yeah? And when it comes to family, I learned to be very honest with my mom. I didn't have a great relationship with her before I came to college. I come to college, I appreciate who she is to me, and then I decided to just be completely honest with her because that's the kind of relationship I wanted with her. So it was just being very blunt and sharing my world with her, and I think that helped me because she understood when I was down, when I was happy, and she helped me get through that stuff.
I do feel the need to say that even though I went home every weekend to see my family and to help them here and there, they were a great support to me. I had home-cooked meals. I got that every weekend. They packed meals for me to bring onto campus. I had a lot of love from my family and support from my family, even though they did not understand college in the same way that I was experiencing. But in terms of being overwhelmed, it was basically I failed my first year. I didn't do well, not fail completely, but I didn't do well. But it took me a lot my second, third, and fourth year to bring up my grades. and I ended up bringing up my grades. But it was trying to find peer groups to study with that was important. Meeting with my advisor, which I didn't really do that much of until my third year, unfortunately, and talking to faculty, I didn't do that research until my last year. So it's about finding your resources early on and helping you balance out your life, your college life.
Great. Please use one word to describe first-generation students and why. We'll start with Dr. Jacobs.
I'm going to mess this up because I'm going to put hyphens between them and I'm going to cheat. Scared, dash, but, dash, resilient. So, and I say that because sometimes you come and you have the weight of the world, you have the weight of your family's projections. They want you to be successful. In fact, they expect you to be successful. You don't want to let them down. You don't want to let yourself down. And that can put a lot of fear on you. But the first generation students that I've noticed, particularly ones like MJ, who know how to release their stress, who know how to strengthen the skills that they may need to strengthen, they prove to be resilient. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. MJ?
I will say powerful, because you already opened a door that has never been opened before, right? You're a first-generation college student. And I always say, whenever I get invited to speak at places, that my life goal is to open doors that haven't been opened so other people can walk through it and open even more doors. So I think you're powerful because you're here at USC. Students, remember how it felt to open your admissions letter? Hold on to that feeling. That is a powerful feeling. And if you do hold on to that feeling, and if you go for what you want to go for, and if you're not afraid to ask for help and strengthen your weaknesses, then you're going to be a very powerful part of the change at USC.
Great.
I just can say amazing, because working for the Neighborhood Academic Initiative Program, a lot of the families that we help, they struggle so much. So these students are incredibly amazing, because for all that they go through, not all of them, but for all that they go through, I mean, to succeed, to graduate from high school, to get accepted to USC, that's just a big thing.
Thank you.
I would say shared identity, but very diverse. So it's a very, very diverse community, but you do have the shared identity of being a first-gen college student.
Thank you. Students, parents, there you have it. You're scared, yet resilient. You're powerful, you're amazing. You have a shared identity, but yet you're diverse. Our time is coming to a close for this panel, so I would like to encourage you to continue the conversation. This is a conversation that will continue for the next 2 to 4 years, so this is only the beginning. But please join me in thanking our panelists at this time for their time, their insight, and their contributions. Thank you very much.